Uh, welcome to our ODLAA webinar this morning. My name is Dr. Mutuota Kigodo. I'm a member of the executive committee of ODLAA. And today we are very, very excited that you're able to join us. And we've got our guest speaker, our guest presenter is Ana Paula Correa, together with two of her students. Welcome to the webinar, Ana. I'll begin by giving you a bit of a background on Anna's educational profile, but also let you know that Anna will have about 40 minutes to present. And if you have any questions, she'll be responding to the questions after the presentation. Meanwhile, if you have anything that you want to put, the chat is open. You can put your comments or anything that you want to say in the chat. And Anna will be sharing slides with everyone. Just a few things about Anna. She's the director, let's say Ana Paula. She's the director of the Center on Education and Training, Center on Education and Training at the Ohio State University. She's the founder, leader of the Learning and Experience Design Research group, and she's also faculty coordinator of the Masters of Learning Technologies. Dr. Correa has more than 25 years experience in learning design and instructional systems technology. Specifically, Correa's expertise lies in distance education, online and mobile learning, collaborative learning, and entrepreneurship. She has published in top-tier academic journals, such as Educational Technology Research and Development, the British Journal of Educational Technology, Computers and Human Behavior, Teachers College Record, Journal of Computer Assisted Learning, and of course, in distance education. To date, she has published over 90 journal articles and book chapters in 3 different languages, English, Portuguese, and Spanish. A true multilingual person. Congratulations, Anna. Dr. Correa's research was awarded for excellence several times by the Association for Educational Communication and Technology, as well as the Association for the Advancement of Computing in Education. She has delivered innumerable presentations at local, national, and international conferences. We are very lucky to have Anna today, and together with Anna are 2 of her colleagues, and she's going to introduce them to us. So Anna, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mutwada, for the kind introduction. Today we're going to be talking about our work on video conferencing systems to support experiential e-learning, but I'm not alone, so I want to ask Fan Xu and Chen-Qin Lu to introduce themselves. And Fan, can you please advance the slides to your picture?
Hi, this is Fan Xu. It's such an honor to be here today. I'm a doctoral student of learning technologies at the University of Ohio State and a graduate research assistant at the Center on Education and Learning for Employment. I worked as an instructional designer for about 2 years, and before I went to OICU. And my research interests include instructional design, computational thinking, and learning analytics. Yeah, that's, let me hand over to Chen-Xi.
Hi, everyone, I'm Chen-Xi, and it's great to be here today to share our study with all of you. So I'm a doctoral candidate of learning technologies at the Ohio State University. And also I'm a graduate research assistant at the SIT, which the director is Dr. Ana Paula Correa. I worked as a language teacher before at two to middle school in the US. And also I worked as a TV director in China. My research interests include mobile learning, educational technology design, and learning experience design. So it's very nice to talk with you today. That's it. Thank you.
So I'm going to get us started to discuss the motivation, the purpose, and the framework for this study that was conducted during the summer of 2020 while we were all in lockdown. And it was later published by the Distance Education Journal. There's the full reference on this slide and the link to the abstract that you can access. I also post a link to the sequence of slides we put together for you today, so everyone has all the information they hopefully need, but we are also open to the questions towards the end. So next, please. As we look back to society these last years, in particular this last 1.5 years, there was many societal shifts that we've seen being accelerated by the COVID pandemic. And one is the rise of digital technologies, in particular for teaching and learning with video conferencing systems and learning management systems that became to be used to its to the fullest of their capabilities. Also, the increasing need for collaboration to address complex systems with nations coming together to solve problems like COVID pandemic and invention of a new vaccine. And also the aggravation of social inequalities that this pandemic is making crystal clear regarding access to digital technologies and to medical care, just to mention a few. Next, please. We were motivated to work on to somewhat alleviate some of those issues, even though it was just a little drop in the big ocean of societal shifts and challenges. So as I said, in summer of 2020, it was early summer, it was May, we came together in a Zoom meeting just like that. And we brainstormed ways that we could make a contribution to the people that needed to transition their teaching to online, also have to work remotely and do many other activities, work relating, teaching related, and learning related, using video conferencing systems. So with this study, the purpose of this study was to analyze 4 widely used video conferencing systems in teaching and learning and provide some insights about their use. I believe this is the reason why we came together today with you. Next, please. So the 4 widely used video conferencing systems that we select for this study were Zoom, WhatsApp, Skype, and Microsoft Teams, that I'm referring as Teams from now on. Fan is going to explain more in detail why we choose these 4 systems, but I'm just giving a quick overview of the number of people who uses these systems that range from hundreds of millions to billions. And the number change on a weekly basis. Next, please. We also wanted to use somewhat different framework to situate this study. We select experiential e-learning framework. The experiential learning theory offers definitely a very distinct perspective of the learning process, which I believe is very much needed when teaching online. Employers demand that universities don't only prepare professionals that are knowledgeable, but also they're able to apply knowledge and skills to unexpected situations. So in my experience, in our experience, combined experience, Online courses and many online learning experiences tend to rely on the delivery of large amounts of information without many opportunities for online learners to apply knowledge and skills into real-world situations before they graduate as part of the learning activities in those online courses. Because of that, we wanted to frame our analysis in the context of experiential e-learning cycle that includes observation as we observe and feel the world around us, conceptualization that allow us to think and generate new concepts, understandings and strategies for action, experimentation that give us opportunities to practice these concepts, followed by a reflection on these experimentation instances. And again, this is just an overview. You can find more information about this framework on our article, but I just want to explain why we make these choices as we conceptualize this study and conduct it. Next, please. And I think now Fan is going to speak about the methods, right?
Thanks, Dr. Kia. All right, let's move on to our methods. Okay, evaluation methods generally fall into two categories: analytic evaluation and empirical evaluation. Empirical methods involve actual participants and assess how well a system performs, while analytic methods analyze a system's features and interpret what characteristics affect its performance. This table here presents examples of analytic and empirical evaluation methods. In this study, we used usability inspection method for our analytic evaluation. This method aims to identify or predict usability problems based on a set of guidelines or experts' knowledge. It allows the identification of systems' potential problems in a short period and at a relatively low cost. To decide video conferencing systems to be evaluated in this study, we conducted a thorough search for the existing systems. We developed the following criteria to guide our selection process. Video conferencing systems to qualify for this analysis had to first offer a free version or free trial for users. Second, be available in both web and mobile application versions. Third, be updated. Fourth, be prevalent or widely used. Fifth, it have been used in educational contexts before. And the selection process consists of 3 steps. Firstly, through a comprehensive online search, each of us independently identify at least 3 video conferencing systems that best meet the selection criteria above. After removing duplications, 7 systems here were selected. And then secondly, we reviewed the initial selected 7 systems together and removed the inappropriate ones. At this point, 2 systems were excluded. And finally, we fully explored the functions of the remaining systems and identified the final 4 to be evaluated. They are Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams, and WhatsApp, as Dr. Kohia mentioned before. And
I'm sorry, Fan, can I just make a small interruption?
Sure.
Can you explain us why we decide not to go with Wechat?
Oh, sure. At first, actually, we were torn between WhatsApp and Wechat because Chenxi and I, we come from China. We know Wechat has a very large user spaces in China, but actually we found that Wechat is not very frequently used out of China. So we compared the user bases of WhatsApp and WeChat and compare their functions. We also found that WeChat is mainly for like message, like DM method of communication. It is not actually a video conferencing system. So we finally decided to use WhatsApp to include WhatsApp in our analysis. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. And the analysis of the selected 4 systems focused on 3 aspects. They are general features, learning related features, and usability. Okay, general features refers to a system's use capability and restrictions. Specifically, in this study, they include software version and type, compatibility like supported desktop, mobile, and browser operating systems, cost, and live meeting duration, and the number of participants allowed per meeting. These features are not directly related to learning or usability, but they are the basic requirement based on which educators can make their initial decisions of whether they are going to use this system. And learning related features of a system obviously are those directly related to online learning activities. As mentioned before, we used the experiential e-learning framework to analyze the system's learning related features and understand how these features could support the 4 experiential learning modes here: concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. The learning-related features proposed by Well and Wiggins include audio, video, recording and playback, screen sharing, application sharing, remote control, file transfer, chat, annotation, breakout rooms, polling and Q&A tools, virtual hand raising, instant reaction, and caption. We also followed all these features, and the thumbs up signs here indicate that the presence of this feature can support this learning mood. And the whole matrix guided our evaluation of each system from the learning aspect. And lastly, usability. Usability refers to the ease with which users can learn to operate or use a system. I'm sorry, it may be hard to read the text on this figure, but you can access the entire content of these tables on our article. So please refer to our article if you need. We adopted this model, which is called Quality in Use Integrated Measurement Model, QIM for short, for our usability analysis. We excluded some irrelevant criteria in the original framework and combined some of them. For example, the privacy and security, we think they are in a same field, so we try to combine them together, and then added a new criterion here, customer service support. Also, we built a list of sub-criteria under each one. For example, when we were evaluating the privacy and security of the system, we reviewed if it has background blur function, if the users can communicate with others through the private chat, facts like this. Again, you can access our article for the details for of the sub-criteria. The evaluation process was much similar to how we selected the system we were going to evaluate. First, individual evaluations based on the Queen model, and then several rounds of discussions among us to reach consensus. All right, that's about our method. Now let me hand over to Chenxi to talk about the results.
Okay, thank you. So based on the method, I'd like to introduce our study findings in 3 parts. So which are the general feature of the 4 video conferencing system and their learning supporting features, as well as their usability. So you can see from this table, it shows the overview of the general feature of the 4 video conferencing system. And the features include each system's available type and their version, as well as their supported operating systems, their cost, live meeting duration, and the maximum number of participants for each meeting. So there are a lot of information in the table. So let's take a closer look at this information in the next slide. So next slide, please. So in terms of system types, all systems could be installed on computers, tablets, and smartphone. And also all systems could be launched in web browser. So for supported operating systems, except for Wechat, which didn't support Linux, all systems supported Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And compared to the other systems, Zoom supported more operating systems, and Skype and Teams were more compatible with Windows. So for the cost, WhatsApp was the only one that was totally free, and Skype and Zoom both had free and paid version, meaning that if users want to access more advanced features, so they need to pay a certain fee to upgrade their account. And because Teams is one application of Microsoft 365, so it required an Office account with an appropriate license plan to access it. In terms of participants and duration, Zoom's provided unlimited one-to-one meeting and 4 minutes group meetings with up to 100 participants. And Skype provides up to 50 participants per meeting and 100 hours group meetings per month with no more than 10 hours per day. And Teams is a little complicated, so it depends on the type of license that users have. And for WhatsApp, it provided unlimited calls up to only 4 participants. So next slide, please. So let's look at the learning supporting features provided by those systems. So the table on the top shows the learning related features of the 4 systems. A check mark represents that a system has a corresponding features, and a cross mark represents a system didn't have a corresponding feature. And then according to the established protocol that presented in the method section, so we scored how those video conferencing systems supported the 4 experiential learning modes. So as shown in the table on the bottom. So you can see Zoom stands out from the rest of the system. And next slide, please. Now I'm going to roughly explain how these learning related features supported students' online learning, and more detailed information can be found in our article. So for concurrent experience, the learning, the screen and application sharing and file transfer allowed educators to use accompanying materials during their teaching. And by using annotation tools such as whiteboard, so educators could explain the learning content better and clear. And in order to promote learners' engagement and to increase their interactive learning, so educators could also use features like instant reaction, polling and Q&A in their learning process. For breakout rooms, it enabled learners to work collaboratively, and the captioning can effectively solve the issues of accessibility and the language barriers. So for selective observation, recording and playback features enabled learners to review their online learning experience and therefore reflect their learning. And the captioning can help them to better understand the learning content. So chat and virtual hand raising. So we think learners could share their learning reflection with others. In terms of abstract conceptualization, so we believe the conversation among learners is very critical because learner could construct their knowledge through peer interaction. So we highlight features such as breakout room, remote control, and screen sharing. And for active experimentation, so we believe learners usually need to work as a part of a team, or they need to work on an individual project that require multiple conversation with different stakeholders. So that's why we highlight features promoting interaction and collaboration, such as screen and application sharing, remote control, file transfer, annotation tools, and instant reaction. So next slide, please. Now let's look at the usability. So as Fan mentioned, the process is very similar to the last section. So the table on the top shows the criteria that we used to analyze the full video conferencing system. After scoring each system, we added up those score of the criteria associated with the each usability factor. And based on the established protocol that has been presented in the method section. And then those scores were converted into percentage, and you can find the information in the table on the bottom. So Skype was highlighted here, meaning that it stands out from the rest of the systems. So next slide, please. For efficiency, Skype was the best because it has the best navigability due to its simplicity and fluency of switching among video call, chat, and sharing features. So when you're using Skype, you can find the three features can all be found in one operation window. So so users won't be lost easily. But in contrast, Teams efficiency need to improve a lot because its navigation icons was not clearly defined, we believe. And in terms of effectiveness, Skype was still the best because its interface had a high level of consistency across all different platforms. In contrast, WhatsApp has a low level of flexibility and controllability. For example, WhatsApp's user couldn't change their virtual background. In terms of satisfaction, Zoom and Skype both offered users with multiple ways to communicate with customer support. And normally their customer support response were always timely and friendly. So they had high level of satisfaction. And in our study, safety include privacy and security. So Zoom has the highest level of end-to-end encryption. So for example, like for each meeting, so we can create a specific identifier and password for each meeting. And also the host of the meeting can decide who can participate in the meeting and when. In the contrast, WhatsApp was the only one that had no actual protection for each meeting. In terms of usefulness, Zoom has high levels of safety and personalization. So, which means that, for example, for Zoom's user, they can not only change their system preference, but also they can controlling their meeting rooms. For example, they can change their virtual background and also control participants' access to a certain function. For the WhatsApp, because it has low levels of safety and personalization, so its usefulness need to improve also. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chen-Jin. I think I'm going to now bring everything together and close our sharing of our study. Next, please. So in conclusion, this is a kind of a summary of what Chen-Jin just shared with us. We found that even though all the systems we analyzed had advantages when learning and teaching online, like strong usability and no costs associated, totally free, all of them also had drawbacks related to teaching and learning online. For example, the safety, the lack of or limited safety, and lacking learning related features. Next, please. So as I mentioned to you, this study was conducted, NASU was conducted during the summer of 2020, and with COVID pandemic, video conferencing systems development have really accelerated. So those were some of the recommendations that we made for future developments when we were working with video conferencing systems to be used in teaching and learning. Some of them they have already been implemented or are in the process of. One is the live closed captions to enhance communication. Zoom already offers that. Also, the integration of current systems like filters or image manipulation are already being used. For instance, Snap Camera integrates with Teams and with Zoom, as well as high quality still images and animations. We also, one of our thoughts after doing that work is the need to develop towards touchscreen functions and also support 3D augmented reality. I think this is going to come if video conferencing systems become as prevalent as they will in the future, because I don't think online education and training and online teaching will not go away. It's just going to become more and more mature and more sophisticated, and those systems will allow for that. And we also found that quick and reliable customer service and technical support is critical, even though when we use video conferences in large universities like the Ohio State University, we have to rely on university-based services. The fact that some of these video conference systems offering general customer and technical support really help us as instructors as well as our students. And I guess this is a wrap. Next, please, Fan. We're going to open for questions and also comments and thoughts. Again, this is a full reference of our article that was published in a distance education, and our email addresses if you want to reach out to us. So back to Mutwata. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ana Paula Correa and your colleagues. That's exciting, and I think people will agree with me that this is a timely research and very good and quite contemporary. And I must congratulate you on having thought about this and even thinking about getting the research done and publishing. Well done and congratulations. I think you've got a good story to tell, and we're going to start to open the webinar to questions. But before we do that, I'll just ask one or two myself. And I'll start off by talking about the experiential bit of this research. And in my own thinking, I was wondering whether it is all about the students' experiences, or did you factor in the experiences of the people presenting here? Can you try and expound on that, a bit of experiential? Whose experience? And how did you, if you talk about students, and you did talk about millions and up to billions, I wonder how you narrowed that down to a manageable figure. If you could possibly respond to that. Thanks.
Thank you for the questions, Mutwada. I'm going to address them, and then if Fan or Chen-Qing wants to join or participate, please feel free to do it. The numbers are tricky because when we check the reports online about the number of users, first, it's not a consistent way to report across video conferencing systems. And then we don't know out of those users, how many are learners or instructors or are engaged in any teaching or learning activity. So I think when we report the number of users is overall, because at least I was unable to find data reporting the usage for learning and teaching purposes. So last question of your sequence, I don't know the answer. But the first question is something close to my heart. So the experience. I think the experience is the one that we prepare for our learners and our students. And in a situation like this, it's a professional development situation to our trainees or the people that are looking for develop professionally. I found that when I teach online, and let's just like share my experience. When I teach online, I teach an applied field that is instruction design, and the students always want opportunities to apply what they're learning in class. So throughout all these years, I'm creating this kind of client-driven projects that the students can develop in my class in instruction design. The projects are short duration. The duration is just the one of a semester, so 12 weeks, 14 max. And we have clients that come to me and ask me, oh, do you have a talented team of instruction design students that will be able to help me with a solution for this problem? So if the problem is if the problem is defeated, if the scope of the problem does not go over the 12 weeks mark of a semester, then I will bring it to the class and the students decide if they want to engage with that problem or not. So I try to make my online classes opportunities for the students to apply their skills in instruction design in projects that are situated in the real world. And for that, I'm going to ask Fan and Chen-Qing to mention the one that they created for a health organization on campus. If it's okay with you, Mutwada, so they can participate with their experience as experiencing the experiential e-learning framework.
Yeah, excellent. That would be fantastic.
Fan and Chen-Qing, can you speak about your applied instruction design project?
Yes, I'd like to first thank Mutwada for your good question, because during the process of this research, we are trying to make it to ensure that we are focused on students' learning experience, not like common users or companies, like things like that. We want to focus on students, learners, and try to make them experience more active and like actual learning during the pandemic. So I remember, I want to add 1 or 2 sentences to Dr. Kriya's answer. I remember that we have tried to find more related articles that has reported the user numbers, like how many learners and teachers they are using these video conferencing systems. But we just found that there are very, very limited articles mentioned the actual number of students users or teacher users, because I think it is a very wide spectrum and the number could be updated day to day. So we just found that very limited articles mention that specific number, but that's why we added one of the criteria that this video conferencing system have been widely used in educational contexts. So that's how we try to fix this problem. I'm sorry, I have said too much. And now we can move on to the project. Yeah, Chishi, do you want to start?
Yeah,
So
of
maybe
course.
Chin, you can tell us the problem that you've tried to solve with your solution. And then I can share the solution on the chat so people can see the learning product that you've developed as part of other members of the team. They were not only the 2 of them, the team had 5 members total.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you. So Fan and I, so we are on the same team. So we're working on the same project. So that was Dr. Correa's class called Applied Learning. So so for this project, so we help learn a health center, I believe. I've forgot the exact name of the center, to design a learning module to help them to treat their health workers. And normally, so the process, when we divided our learning experience to the 4 experiential learning experience, as we mentioned in our article. So when we talk about concrete experience, so we firstly set up the meeting with our stakeholders, including our client and also the students who might enroll in that class. So we talk about the issues so they were facing and what kind of requirements they have for their class and how they would like to improve their teaching. So based on their requirement and the actual situation, so we moved to the next, So based on their situation and combined with what we have learned in our class, so we reflect our learning to think about, okay, so which part we can use that we learned from the class and apply it to the real situation. So we have several group meetings and talk the situation with our group members to decide what the class will looks like in the future and what kind of features we like to add on to the class design part. And then so we after we reflect we are learning, so we move to the design process. So we actually designed a learning model and delivered to our clients. And after that, so we come back to think about what we learned through the actual project. So which is the abstract, our conceptualization to say, based on this learning experience, so what kind of content we can take home and apply those contents in our futures work and the futures designing project. And then, so now, so we already complete this project, and also we delivered our project to participants AECT, right? So AECT award, and we got a reward for our project. So it's my honor to participate in this project and take Dr. Correa's class. Yeah, so that's how the whole learning process looks like and how it involved the 4 experimental learning experience. Thank you. Hope my answer addressed your question.
Thank you, Chen-Chin and Fan. And I just dropped a link to the e-learning modules that they create for the, excuse me, the health workers here at Ohio State. Sorry, it was a long answer.
Okay.
We are ready for the next one.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah, you go, Jay. You go ahead. I have a follow-up.
Mine's not really a question, just a comment to say, look, you know, congratulations. I think the research you've done is so timely. So that I can't imagine there's too many people in lockdown that can't benefit from this research immediately. I think we're all grappling with it and have been for, you know, since the beginning of the pandemic. So yeah, I just think it's incredibly timing and really useful. It's a piece of work that we'd all like to have done, you know, to be able to help our students better, but you guys have done it all for us. So yeah, thank you. Very well done.
Yeah, yes.
I would like to echo that point, Anna. One of the things that I think we liked about the paper was the connection to experiential learning, as opposed to just a comparison of the different systems. But I have a question which actually digs a little deeper into things. She's point about design and building of experiences. One of the things that we have all realized as part of the COVID pandemic is that the video conferencing systems, you know, all of them have been abused quite a bit as part of the COVID-19 experience, because, you know, when COVID-19 struck, everybody thought, okay, so what are we going to do now? Freaking out, you know, and forgot about all the lessons that we know have worked very well in open, flexible, and distance learning. But then they found this fancy new tool called video conferencing. Okay, let's take the lecture online. So start doing the same thing that they were doing in the classroom, except through the video conferencing mode. So hence the interest in video conferencing systems. So Zoom suddenly becomes the main game in town. And prior to that, many people didn't even know that Zoom existed. So you know, that's that side of the story. So that's the ugly side of the tool. As part of your research, and I'm not sure this came out in the paper, but obviously I'm sure this is going to come out as part of the larger piece of work or research around that work. You would be grappling with how not to use video conferencing systems, you know, in the design of productive learning experiences, I would like to call it. So how much thought and what kind of thought are you giving to advising people on the damages that can be done? Not so much damages, but the misuse or abuse of video conferencing systems at the expense of experiential learning or productive experiential learning situation. Environments, if you like, you know, can you that you both are involved in, or you yourself, Anna?
I think I lost the last words you said, but I think I'm ready for sharing my thoughts about your question. I do believe that people took the video conferencing and just mimic the classroom. There was the movement for survival. No one really elevates the affordances of the video conferencing. For instance, the integration with other systems and the fact that we can share documents and write things together on a whiteboard. Even though we can do that in the classroom, it might sometimes might become a little bit chaotic. My hopes or my thoughts, we conduct this study because we wanted to make a contribution to a situation that people were experiencing. So it was, my research is not all about video conferencing systems. It's about learning design and learning experience. I think video conference might have been abused and misused for sure, but they can stay if they are elevated to complement the learning experience, including the one that when created for online learners. One way is to just leverage all the features and use them to its fullest, including the filters and the sharing of the share of documents, the creation of collaborative documents. And many of those things can be done asynchronously. So we don't need to be all at one time sharing our faces in an environment like that. But some of them and our own experiences, researchers, this paper, we use Zoom because that was a way for us to come together in a virtual space to conduct our study, to check our scores, to discuss our inputs as research, as authors on this paper. I think I'm getting a little bit lost, but let me just give you one more example and then I stop. So in terms of a learning event, we had, it was not a professional development event. It was more like a social team building event in our center that was done during Halloween time. I don't know if you have the holiday in Australia, probably not, but in North America is very popular. People wear costumes and they have costumes contests. So we were able to have a Halloween costume contest in the context of Zoom because we use Snapchat filters and we had a costume in 1 second. We could not do that in the real classroom without bringing props and proper attire to change in the bathroom and then go on a parade to engage in these costume contests. But we were able to do it in a social event and in Fanny's trying to demonstrate in a social event and team building event because of the affordances that come with Zoom. And they might not be the best example, but that's the one that came to my mind. And let me tell you, it was so successful because people could not understand how come I would show as like a space astronaut on Zoom. And they thought I actually put the costume. No, it's just Snapchat. And I could change from astronaut to princess, not really princess, but like mean princess. This quick, and it was so much fun, and we could integrate music. And you know, you can also integrate music in your asynchronous online experience. You can have the voices of your students. Anyway, I'm just going to stop here. So we really need to leverage whatever video conferencing can do for you to help people learn better.
I think that's it, some though, isn't it? I mean, it's really trying to adapt really what is a classroom based pedagogy to a remote setting. And that's sort of the what has been, of course, and we've talked about this before, the challenge with the pandemic is we haven't really necessarily pivoted in a lot of ways pedagogically. We've just adapted an existing pedagogy and we've been able to use that more broadly. And thankfully we have, because without the Zooms and the Skypes, we wouldn't have had any delivery means for students. But, you know, and my view is that there is a place for video conferencing and, you know, to the points that have been raised, for that engagement with students that are really important in the video conferencing, but it can't and shouldn't be the be all and end all of an online or a distance pedagogy. And I think that's the next step that we need to take. I mean, I think the danger is with the pandemic is now we've applied the video conferencing facilities. Everyone thinks they've sorted out from an online learning perspective, but it's nowhere near sufficient. And I think that's going to be the next hurdle that needs to be addressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to add something. So just
Please.
idea crossed my mind. So as Dr. Correa mentioned, so I believe there are many differences between the online learning and face-to-face learning, and but they also share some similarities. And the reason we conduct our paper is to help educators to realize the possibility of using video conferencing systems in the future's teaching and learning, because we believe like the choosing an appropriate tool is very critical to facilitate the future's pedagogical designing process. Because if you choose the appropriate tool and then you can design, you can apply your designing ideas in the real world. So I think this is the one main goal of our article. And definitely there will be a lot of space need to explore in the future regarding how to design the online learning to facilitate learners' need and their learning. But yeah, so we believe the first step is very important, and we're glad we went to this step. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks again for this opportunity. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk with you about the use of video conferences and distance education. And I think our topics today are like learner-centered learning and the misuse of video conferencing systems. These are very meaningful. And as Jay mentioned, it is important. The most important thing is that how can we use Zoom or systems like that to improve learners' experience, and how to emerge our pedagogical strategies into the distance education. So it is this kind of learning is different from MOOC or a common video online. So teachers need to improve students' learning experience, not only just to show the content or just say something. Yeah, so I think it is very meaningful, and I'm so glad to be here to talk with you guys today.
It's certainly good to see those two graduate students there, Anna. That's a great example of mentoring future faculty members, eventually. And I certainly want to underscore the point about the importance of focusing on learning experience design. I think there's a word that we should expunge from our educational conversation, which is the word delivery. Don't talk about delivery, because we are not delivering anything to anyone. We are building productive learning experiences. So I like that work. So if there's more articles coming, please pass them on.
We will. Probably from their dissertation work, Fenshu and Chenchi will definitely pass them on.
I also, sorry, I was blanked out for so long. I also am impressed by the work because it underscores the importance. It tells a little bit of the story, or prompts people to think that by using these video systems, we're not replicating what we do. It's actually different. Acknowledge it's different. And once you start at that point, don't expect it to be the same. It's going to be different. You know, your costumes you talked about and having the party, you can still have fun, but it's slightly different. It's going to be different. The experience is different. But it can still be of quality and high class, but it's different. And straight away, you don't set yourself up for failure or for being disappointed. So I think your work contributes to sending that message. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, very much. And the thing is that we cannot expect to mimic what is happening in the classroom into a video conferencing. kind of environment. It reminds us like when online education or distance education, maybe online education started, then it was just like take the textbook and make it in a multimedia hyperbook. Remember those? And it's just like there's no direct or straight transition. It's different experience overall. And let's use all the features to its fullest. I used to tell my students, if the system breaks, it's a discovery in itself. So let's break some systems, learning management systems and systems that support learning, to really, truly experiment and see when they work and when they don't work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think people will say that they'll agree with me when I say that this was a very productive interaction, and we are very excited that you've taken up this kind of research. Now, I'm conscious of time, and we had allocated 1 hour for this, and I'm sure you have an opportunity to give us the PowerPoint slides, just in case we want to dig deeper into that and the necessary links. But I think ask everyone to please join me in thanking our presenters today. Thank you so much, and we'll talk next time.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.